Most people think commission-based work is risky. The wealthy know it's the ultimate leverage play. While everyone else trades hours for dollars in some dead-end job, there's an invisible army of remote workers making $10,000, $20,000, even $50,000 a month from their laptops, and most people have never even heard of what they do. They're called appointment setters, and they're the secret infrastructure behind every eight-figure coaching empire, every high-ticket consulting business, every celebrity entrepreneur you've ever heard of. Grant Cardone has 400 of them. Cole Gordon built a $30 million company in 26 months on the back of this model. And here's what nobody tells you. The barrier to entry is essentially zero, but the income ceiling, there isn't one. Let me show you something. Right now, somewhere in the world, there's a 23-year-old former pharmacy employee sitting in his apartment making $15,000 this month. He's not selling anything. He's not closing deals. He's just booking appointments, 30 calls a day, 4 hours of actual work. The company he works for pays him $300 per qualified appointment, and he books 4 to 5 every single day. Do the math. That's $1,200 to $1,500 daily, and he's doing it in sweatpants. But here's where it gets interesting. That same kid 2 years from now won't be setting appointments anymore. He'll be managing a team of 20 setters, pulling in a percentage of everything they generate. And 5 years from now, he'll have his own appointment setter agency, placing talent into companies for $2,000 per placement, plus ongoing revenue share agreements. This is how you build wealth in the modern economy, not by climbing some corporate ladder, not by hoping for a promotion, by understanding leverage and commission structures that scale infinitely. Before we go deeper, let me tell you something. This is a brand new channel, and we're on a mission to reach 100 subscribers who are serious about understanding how real wealth is built. Not the fairy tales, the actual models, the infrastructure, the leverage plays that the top 1% use every single day. If you're watching this and you want access to this level of insight every single week, hit that subscribe button right now. We're also aiming for 50 likes on this video because the algorithm rewards engagement, and frankly, I want to know that you're paying attention. And here's what I need from you. Drop a comment right now telling me where in the world you're watching from. I want to see how far this information reaches. London, Lagos, Los Angeles, let me know. This channel succeeds when you engage, so don't just watch passively. Participate. Now, let's talk about what appointment setting actually is, because most people get this completely wrong. An appointment setter is not a salesperson. They're not closing deals. They're not handling objections in the traditional sense. What they're doing is something far more valuable and far more scalable. They're converting disinterest into interest. They're taking a cold prospect who's never heard of a business and turning them into someone who shows up on a calendar ready to have a conversation with a closer. And businesses will pay absurd amounts of money for this because it solves the single most painful problem every entrepreneur faces. They need leads, but they absolutely despise doing outreach themselves. Think about it. You've got a business owner running a $10,000 coaching program. Maybe it's a fitness transformation program. Maybe it's business consulting. Doesn't matter. That entrepreneur knows they can close deals. They know their offer converts. But here's what they don't want to do. Spend 6 hours a day cold calling prospects, sending LinkedIn messages, following up with people who ghost them. That work is tedious. It's time-consuming. And for someone whose time is worth $500 or $1,000 an hour, it's economically insane for them to be doing it. Enter the appointment setter. This person becomes the invisible infrastructure, the lead engine. They handle all the grunt work of outreach, qualification, and scheduling. And the business owner only steps in when there's a qualified prospect sitting on their calendar, ready to buy. The appointment setter gets paid anywhere from $25 to $300 per appointment booked. Or alternatively, they get a percentage of the revenue generated from deals that close. Typically, 3 to 10% of cash collected. Now here's the elegance of this model. Let's say you're setting appointments for that $10,000 coaching program, and your commission structure is 5% of closed deals. You're making 30 calls a day, which takes about 4 hours of focused work. Your conversion rate from calls to booked appointments is 15%. That means you're booking 4 to 5 appointments daily. Now, not all of those appointments show up and not all of them buy. Let's say 20% of your booked appointments actually convert to sales. That's one sale every single day from your efforts. 5% of $10,000 is $500. You just made $500 in a single day, working 4 hours. That's $10,000 a month part-time, but that's conservative. That's the entry-level scenario. The appointment setters who truly understand this game don't work on fixed per-appointment rates. They negotiate revenue-based commissions. They find businesses with proven offers, high conversion rates, and they get themselves locked into percentage deals. And once you're in that position, the sky is the limit. There are documented cases of appointment setters generating over $2 million in total sales across multiple companies. One setter reported $300,000 in personal earnings while working entirely remotely before transitioning into business management. These aren't lottery tickets. These are people who understood the model, executed consistently, and leveraged themselves into higher and higher percentage deals. Let me tell you about Hunter. Hunter was working in a pharmacy, dead-end job, minimum wage, no future. He stumbled across an appointment setter training program and decided to give it a shot. He had no sales experience, no business background, nothing. But he learned the scripts. He learned how to qualify prospects. He learned how to book calls, and he started setting appointments for one of Grant Cardone's major offers. Grant Cardone, if you don't know, operates one of the most sophisticated appointment setter infrastructures in the entrepreneurial world. 400+ employees, multiple simultaneous offers. His real estate investment arm, Cardone Capital, manages over $2 billion in assets. His sales training operations generate tens of millions annually, and all of it runs on appointment setters, feeding qualified leads to closers. Hunter started at the bottom. But because he was good, because he understood how to move prospects through the pipeline, he rose fast. Within 18 months, he was the head appointment setter for one of Cardone's flagship programs. Now he's managing teams. Now he's making more money than most people with MBA degrees. And it all started with a willingness to pick up the phone and book appointments. This is the part where people get confused, so listen carefully. The appointment setter model works because it solves a fundamental economic problem. Businesses need leads more than they need almost anything else. A business without leads is dead. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how polished your sales process is. If you don't have people to talk to, you have no revenue. And the traditional ways of generating leads are either expensive or time-consuming or both. You can run paid ads, but that costs money up front and requires expertise. You can do content marketing, but that takes months or years to build momentum. Or you can hire appointment setters who work on commission and only cost you money when they actually deliver results. This is why every major entrepreneur uses this model: Grant Cardone, Cole Gordon, Iman Gadzhi, Russell Brunson, Ty Lopez, Dan Bilzerian. These aren't small-time operators. These are people running 8-figure and 9-figure businesses, and every single one of them has appointment setter infrastructure as a core component of their revenue generation. They understand something that most people miss. Paying commission is not an expense, it's leverage. When you pay an appointment setter $500 for booking a call that turns into a $10,000 sale, you didn't lose $500. You made $9,500 that you wouldn't have made otherwise. That's not a cost, that's profit multiplication. Let me break down Cole Gordon's story because it's one of the purest examples of this model in action. Cole Gordon founded a company called Closers.io. The business model is deceptively simple. Train appointment setters to book calls with qualified prospects, then have closers convert those calls into high-ticket coaching contracts. The contracts range from $10,000 to over $100,000. That's it. No physical products, no inventory, no overhead. Just leads converting into sales. And Gordon scaled this company from $0 to $30 million in annual revenue in 26 months. How? System consistency. Gordon didn't rely on product launches. He didn't rely on viral marketing campaigns. He built a machine. Every single day, his appointment setters were booking calls. Every single day, his closers were taking those calls and converting them into contracts. And because the system was consistent, the revenue was consistent. On October 31st, 2024, Gordon documented hitting $1 million in contracted revenue in a single day. Not from a launch, not from a promotion, just from the daily execution of a proven system. And the appointment setters who work in his organization. Many of them report making $10,000 to $20,000 monthly, working entirely remotely. Some of his top closers, who started as appointment setters, were making $20,000 monthly in commissions before transitioning into management positions, where they earned even more through revenue share arrangements. Now, if you're sitting there thinking this sounds too good to be true, let me address that. This model works, but it's not passive. It's not easy. It's commission-based, which means you eat what you kill. If you don't book appointments, you don't get paid. Period. There's no guaranteed salary, there's no safety net, and that psychological reality filters out 90% of people immediately. Most people are terrified of variable income. They'd rather make $3,000 a month with certainty than risk making zero one month and $15,000 the next. But that fear is precisely what creates the opportunity. Because the people who can handle the variability, who can execute consistently even when results aren't immediate, those people win disproportionately. Here's another case study. Iman Gadzhi. By his mid-20s, he had built a $100 million sales funnel, and appointment setters were a critical component of that infrastructure. Gadzhi's system involved hiring virtual assistants to build prospect lists, paying appointment setters either fixed fees of $250 per call or revenue percentages, then leveraging his personal brand to warm incoming leads. The brilliance of his approach was understanding that appointment setters don't need to be celebrities. They don't need big, personal brands. They work best as invisible infrastructure supporting established offers. When Gadzhi started, he had no clients, zero revenue. But after implementing systematic outreach strategies with appointment setters, he scaled from zero to over $10,000 monthly within 30 days, then to $20,000 within 60 days. His system required booking 30 demo calls monthly. His team would convert 6 to 8 of those into strategy sessions, and ultimately they'd land 2 new clients per month. That's it. 2 clients. But at $10,000 per client, that's $20,000 in new monthly recurring revenue, and because the appointment setters were commission-based, the only cost was a percentage of deals that actually closed. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. If you could build a machine that cost you nothing up front, required minimal management, and generated thousands of dollars in profit every single month, would you build 1 machine, or would you build 10? Would you build 100? This is the mindset shift that separates the wealthy from everyone else. Most people think small. They think about getting a job as an appointment setter and making $10,000 a month. That's fine, that's a start. But the truly wealthy are thinking about building teams of appointment setters. They're thinking about owning the infrastructure. They're thinking about leverage. And here's where it gets really interesting. Once you understand how the appointment setter model works, you start seeing it everywhere. Russell Brunson took ClickFunnels from $0 to $10 million in annual revenue in a single year. How? Systematized appointment setting, lead generation funnels feeding into discovery calls, those discovery calls converting into high-ticket sales. Jeremy Miner, who runs 7th Level Training, made multiple 7-figure annual commissions as a commission-only salesperson before transitioning to training others. During his 17-year sales career, he ranked as the 45th highest-earning producer out of over 108 million salespeople globally. All on commission, no guaranteed income, just results. Even Dan Bilzerian, the so-called king of Instagram, uses appointment setter infrastructure. You'd think someone with that kind of social media following wouldn't need outbound sales. But even with millions of followers, qualified meetings don't just materialize. His marketing team runs high-impact outreach campaigns with aggressive KPIs and appointment setters managing the lead flow. Because at the end of the day, attention doesn't equal revenue. Appointments equal revenue. Now let's talk about the operational reality of how these systems actually scale, because this is where most people's understanding falls apart. They think appointment setting is just about making calls. It's not. It's about understanding commission structures, knowing which industries pay what, and positioning yourself accordingly. Roofing and storm restoration. 10% commission. Home security, 10 to 18%. Insurance, up to 17%. SaaS companies, 10 to 20%. Real estate, 4 to 6%. Automobiles, 25%. But appointment setters operate differently. They're not typically taking full sales commissions. They're taking smaller percentages or fixed per appointment fees. The standard structure is $25 to $100 per appointment booked, or 3 to 10% of cash collected from deals that close. And here's the key. The highest earners negotiate custom arrangements. They combine base draws with performance bonuses. They lock in percentage deals with multiple companies simultaneously. They diversify their income streams so they're not dependent on any single offer or any single client. The three-tier system that successful organizations use looks like this. Tier 1, appointment setters. They convert disinterest into interest through outreach across phone, email, social media, LinkedIn. Compensation is $25 to $100 per appointment, or 3 to 10% of cash collected. Tier 2, closers. They convert interest into clients by taking the appointment calls and closing the deals. Compensation is 10 to 20% commission on the sales price. Tier 3, client success managers and upsell specialists. They retain clients and identify upsell opportunities. Compensation usually includes a base salary plus commission on upsells. Neil Patel, a multi-millionaire digital marketer, has talked publicly about how total sales compensation should not exceed 10% of revenue generated to maintain healthy profit margins while still attracting quality talent. So if a company generates $1 million in revenue, they should allocate no more than $100,000 to all sales roles combined. This is how businesses think about commission structures. They're not trying to be generous. They're trying to maximize profit while keeping talent motivated. And if you're on the appointment setter side, understanding this math gives you negotiating power. Let me give you another case study that illustrates the leverage hidden in this model. There's a guy named Taylor O'Hare. He generated over $2.1 million in high-ticket sales working as a remote appointment setter and closer combined. But here's where it gets interesting. He eventually built a recruiting and consulting business around placing appointment setters into companies. By leveraging 10 to 20-minute conversations to match setters with companies, he negotiated 2.5% revenue share agreements on cash collected. He wasn't doing the appointments anymore. He wasn't doing the closing. He was just making introductions. And in 1 month, his client's cash collected increased from $70,000 in May to $670,000 in November. His commission from that single arrangement? $16,750 monthly. He built leverage on top of leverage. This is what I mean when I say the appointment setter model is just the entry point. Yes, you can make good money as a setter. $10,000, $20,000, even $50,000 a month if you're exceptional. But the real wealth is in understanding the infrastructure and building your own. It's in recruiting and placing setters for fees. It's in managing teams and taking percentages of their output. It's in starting your own agency and selling lead generation as a service to coaches and consultants who desperately need it. Now, I need to talk about something that most people won't tell you, and this is critical. The appointment setter space has become increasingly saturated over the last few years. Training programs like Closers.io, Remote Closing Academy, 7th level training, they've scaled massively. That's created downward pressure on commissions. What might have earned 10% 5 years ago might earn 5 to 7% today, and simultaneously, AI-powered appointment setting tools are beginning to displace human setters for routine tasks. You can get AI tools now for $48.75 monthly versus paying a human setter $5,000 to $20,000 monthly. But here's the thing. The highest value appointment setters, the ones with strong communication skills, the ability to quickly build rapport, the understanding of consultative selling, they're still in massive demand and they command premium rates. The commoditization is hitting entry-level and mid-tier setters most severely. If you're just reading scripts and you have no ability to adapt to different personalities or handle complex objections, you're going to get replaced. But if you can actually connect with people, if you can qualify prospects intelligently, if you can position offers in ways that make people excited to take a call, you're irreplaceable. And this brings me to the mindset component, which is really what separates the people who make life-changing money in this space from the people who wash out in 3 months. Commission-based work is psychologically brutal. You can work your ass off for 2 weeks and make nothing. You can have a week where you book 15 appointments and none of them show up. You can close a huge deal and then go through a month-long dry spell. Most people cannot handle that emotional volatility. They panic, they quit. They go back to hourly jobs where they feel safe, but here's what wealthy people understand. That volatility is the price you pay for unlimited upside. In a salaried job, you have a ceiling. You can work twice as hard and you'll make the same amount. You can work half as hard and you'll make the same amount. There's no incentive for excellence. But in commission-based work, every improvement in your skill set directly translates to higher earnings. Better scripts, more appointments, better qualification, higher conversion rates, better follow-up systems, more shows. Every single optimization you make compounds, and that's addictive once you experience it, because you realize you're in control. Your income isn't determined by some manager deciding whether you deserve a raise. It's determined by your skill, your effort, and your ability to improve systematically. Here's a question I want you to sit with. When Grant Cardone runs 400 employees instead of 2,000, what's he optimizing for? Efficiency. When Cole Gordon scales to 30 million in revenue with a lean team structure, what's he optimizing for? Leverage. When Dan Bilzerian, who has millions of followers and could theoretically sell anything through social media, still employs appointment setter teams, what does that tell you? It tells you the model is too powerful to ignore. It tells you that even when you have massive brand recognition, systematized lead generation still outperforms everything else. And here's why. Because appointment setters from the business owner's perspective are as close to free labor as the legal system allows. You're not employing them in the traditional sense. You're not bearing fixed costs. You're not managing overhead. You're simply paying for outcomes. If they don't produce, you don't pay. If they do produce, you pay them a fraction of what you collect. It's a completely asymmetric arrangement that favors the business owner, and that's exactly why it's so attractive. But from the appointment setter's perspective, it's equally attractive for the opposite reason. You're not trading time for a fixed paycheck. You're trading results for potentially unlimited income. If you get good enough, if you understand the game well enough, you can make more in a month than most people make in a year. And you can do it from anywhere. You can do it in 4 hours a day. You can service multiple clients simultaneously. You can scale your own income without needing anyone's permission. This is the inversion of the traditional employment relationship, and most people are so conditioned by the salary model that they can't even see it. They think guaranteed income is safety, but guaranteed income is a cage. It's a ceiling. It's someone else deciding what your time is worth. Commission-based work is freedom. It's risk, yes, but it's also unlimited upside. And the people who build real wealth understand that you don't get rich by avoiding risk. You get rich by taking calculated risks, where the upside massively outweighs the downside. Let me paint you a picture of what the progression actually looks like for someone who takes this seriously. Month 1. You're learning. You're making calls, you're getting rejected, you're booking maybe 1 or 2 appointments. You make $500. It feels like you're failing. Month 2, you're getting better. Your scripts are tighter. You're booking 5 appointments. You make $1,500. You start to see it's possible. Month 3, you're consistent now, 10 appointments, $3,000. You're making more than you did at your old job. Month 6, 15 appointments. You've figured out which offers convert best. You're making $6,000 monthly. Month 12, you're servicing multiple clients. 25 appointments across 3 different offers. You're making $12,000 monthly, working 5 hours a day. But here's where it splits. Most people plateau there. They get comfortable. $12,000 a month is good money, and they stop pushing. But the people who understand leverage, they're thinking differently. They're recruiting other setters and taking a percentage of what they generate. They're negotiating better commission structures. They're building relationships with business owners and getting equity deals. They're transitioning from being an appointment setter to being someone who owns appointment setter infrastructure. And this is the ultimate lesson. The appointment setter model is not a career. It's a business education. It teaches you how revenue is actually generated. It teaches you how to communicate value. It teaches you how to handle rejection. It teaches you how commission-based economics work. And all of those lessons are transferable. Whether you stay in appointment setting, whether you become a closer, whether you start your own business, the skills you build are foundational. Now let me address the elephant in the room. Some of you are sitting there thinking this sounds like a hustle, like it's not real work. And you're half right. It is a hustle. But every single wealthy person you've ever heard of is hustling in some capacity. The difference is they're hustling strategically. They're hustling in high-leverage activities where effort translates to disproportionate returns. That's what appointment setting is. It's high-leverage hustle. You're not digging ditches. You're not doing manual labor. You're using communication skills to generate outcomes that businesses will pay thousands of dollars for. And here's what people miss. The businesses that hire appointment setters aren't doing it because they're generous. They're doing it because the ROI is insane. A high-ticket coaching company generating $15,000 average deal sizes with 10 deals closed monthly earns $150,000. If they pay appointment setters $300 per booked appointment, even with 50 booked appointments monthly, that's only $15,000. 10% of total revenue. And those setters didn't generate all that revenue. They generated the leads that closers converted. The real value emerges when you understand that most business owners get 30 to 40% of their calendar filled through appointment setters. Without them, they'd need to do the outreach themselves, which costs time and opportunity cost, or hire inside sales staff at $40,000 to $75,000 annually. A commission-based setter costs nothing up front and only triggers payment upon performance. This is why businesses eagerly negotiate higher percentages with proven setters. The ROI is undeniable. Let me tell you about the demographic reality of this space, because it matters. Most appointment setters are young, 18 to 30 years old. They're remote workers without prior sales experience. They're attracted by the promise of flexible hours and income not capped by a salary. The barrier to entry is essentially zero: a laptop, internet connection, willingness to make calls or send messages. This is why it scales so effectively. The labor supply is infinite. There will always be another 22-year-old willing to try appointment setting because they hate their restaurant job and they've heard they can make $10,000 a month working from home. But the top-tier setters, the ones generating $5,000 to $10,000 plus monthly, they're treated completely differently. They become valuable assets with leverage to negotiate better deals. Some eventually transition to recruiting and placing appointment setters, earning $2,000 plus per placement. Some manage setter teams and earn base salaries plus percentages of team revenue. Some start their own appointment setter agencies and sell lead generation infrastructure to coaches and agencies. Some become closers themselves, which is often more lucrative. And some build personal brands to generate their own leads, which allows them to command the highest commissions, 30 to 50%, because they control the entire pipeline. This progression is the real game. Appointment setting is the entry point, but the wealth is in understanding the system deeply enough that you can build infrastructure around it. You can recruit, you can place, you can manage, you can own. And once you're in that position, your income isn't tied to how many calls you make. It's tied to how many people you can coordinate, how many relationships you can leverage, how much infrastructure you can build. That's when you go from making $10,000 a month to making $50,000 a month, then $100,000 a month, then more. Now, I told you at the beginning that I wanted 50 likes on this video, and I need you to follow through on that. If what I'm sharing resonates with you, if you're starting to see how this model works, hit that like button, and more importantly, drop a comment right now. I want to know, what's your biggest takeaway from this? Are you seeing appointment setting as a potential path? Are you already in the space and looking to scale? Are you a business owner realizing you need this infrastructure? Tell me. I read every single comment, and I use that feedback to shape the content I create. This channel only works if you engage, so don't be passive. Comment. Let me know where you're at. Let me bring this full circle with a truth that most people will never accept. The reason appointment setters exist, the reason this model is everywhere, the reason Grant Cardone runs 400 employees, the reason Cole Gordon scaled to 30 million in 26 months, The reason every major entrepreneur uses this infrastructure, it's because paying for performance is the closest thing to risk-free revenue generation that exists. You don't pay until results materialize. You don't carry salary costs. You don't manage benefits or HR complexity. You just pay a percentage when money comes in. And from the business perspective, that's perfect. But from your perspective, if you're the setter, it's equally perfect. Because you're not asking anyone for permission to earn more. You're not waiting for a promotion. You're not hoping your boss notices your hard work. You're directly in control. Better results equal more money immediately, automatically. And that alignment of incentives, where the business wins when you win and you win when the business wins, that's the foundation of every great wealth-building model. Here's my challenge to you. Most people will watch this video, think it's interesting, and do nothing. They'll go back to their jobs, they'll keep trading hours for dollars. They'll keep waiting for someone else to decide what they're worth. But a small percentage of you, maybe 2%, maybe 5%, you'll actually take action. You'll research appointment setter opportunities. You'll learn the scripts. You'll start making calls. And 6 months from now, you'll be one of the people I'm talking about in the next video. You'll be the case study. You'll be the proof that this works. But it only works if you move. Information without action is worthless. And what I've given you today is not theory. It's the exact model that 8-figure and 9-figure entrepreneurs use to scale their businesses. It's the infrastructure that generates millions of dollars in revenue every single month, and it's accessible to you right now. Not in 5 years when you finish some degree, not when you save up capital to start a business. Right now, today. You could send your first message, make your first call, book your first appointment. So here's what I need you to do. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This channel is on a mission to reach 100 subscribers who understand real wealth-building models, not the fantasy, the infrastructure. And I need you to be part of that. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and get ready because next week I'm breaking down another model that most people have never heard of, but that generates obscene amounts of money for the people who understand it. We're also still aiming for 50 likes on this video. If this resonated with you, if you learned something, if you're seeing possibilities you didn't see before, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm, it helps the channel grow, and it signals to me that you want more content like this. And one more time, drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your biggest takeaway. Tell me if you're going to take action or if you're just going to keep spectating. I want to know. Because the people who comment, the people who engage, those are the people who actually change their financial situations. The spectators stay broke. The participants get rich. This is William Vanderbilt, and I'll see you in the next one. Now go build something.